The deeper we dig into Molly Young's murder, the more holes I keep finding in the case. This case would never float. There seems to be one situation after another where police, whether it be Carbondale, Illinois State Police, State Attorney's Office, have all fumbled the ball. They knew before they arrived at that apartment that they were dealing with a Carbondale Police Department employee. Once emergency medical services had determined that Molly was deceased, there was no reason for any police officers to step foot into that apartment, and that Richie should have been removed from that apartment upon their arrival, and he should not have been allowed to wash his hands, change his clothes, or do anything but sit in the back of a police car and wait for the arrival of the Illinois State Police. But he was obviously extended a courtesy because of his employment and probably because of his parents' employment as law enforcement officers. I have no problem with a little bit of extended courtesy professionally, but when you get to the point where you're allowing somebody to change clothes and wash his hands and run around the apartment, that's a problem. Carbondale Police Department was in that scene. They took some photographs, which they have refused to turn over to the family. Illinois State Police arrived on that scene, essentially to investigate it. But in their ensuing investigation, I find even more missing links. The blood spatter that was deposited throughout that room on various surfaces has not been properly determined on how and what type of blood stain it is. Apparently, their blood spatter analysis expert, or whatever they call him, Sergeant Morris, either does not have the experience or he doesn't have the complete credentials necessary to make that determination. It speaks to itself when I read some of his reports on the fact that he can measure it, but he doesn't know how it got there. And then kind of refers it to stains being spatter or maybe transfer. That's extremely unlikely. Transfer is very obvious, just as spatter is very obvious. They're not the same. His inability to discern the difference concerns me. The fact that everything that had blood on it was not collected and preserved. That there's missing items from the room that were not collected. That's a concern. So when I see police either deliberately or out of being inept not doing the proper job, I call that corrupt. Corrupt isn't always about financial gain. There's other gain here when you're covering up a murder case for a fellow officer or a fellow family member of an officer. What we have here in Carbondale is a pattern of misconduct or inept police officers. We're getting cases left and right from Carbondale and information from people all over Carbondale, as well as police officers in Carbondale that are sick and tired of what's going on around there. So if I was the chief police of Carbondale, I would be giving the Youngs the photograph they request. And the same with the Illinois State Police. Stop playing games with these people because you're going to lose this battle and you're going to ultimately lose the war. Because we're not letting it go. Guaranteed.